I often get asked from first-time homebuyers if buying a pre-construction project would be the best priced way to get into the market. And this is too something that I thought before I purchased my first home, assuming that pre-construction was going to be a better price ultimately. And in today's video, we're going to break down some of the pros and cons of buying pre-construction specifically in Toronto. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jay Dyson. I'm a local realtor with eXp Realty. And on this channel, we share strategic tips and strategies to help first-time millennial home buyers navigate the real estate market here in Toronto. Today, I want to discuss the pros and cons for buying a pre-construction. For many buyers in the market, pre-construction is something that comes up on the radar, and oftentimes, and I think it comes from historical beliefs, is that pre-construction is a cheaper option to get into the real estate market. Not that I love to focus on the cons, but today we're going to start with some of the major cons of buying pre-construction in Toronto specifically. So for today's video, we're really going to be talking about the projects and what's happening in the Toronto GTA market, because the pros and cons in this video may not be a sweeping general statement for all pre-construction in Ontario. But for Toronto specifically, let's dive into the cons. The first con that I want you to take into consideration is the hidden fees. Now, they're not truly hidden fees because we know that they will actually come. But when you approach a developer or a project and you're interested in a unit or a property, they're going to provide you a list of prices. Those prices that you are seeing are not going to include things like a locker or if you need additional parking. Those are going to be added costs at the end. There is an additional developer fee in your closing costs. And if you're not familiar with closing costs, I highly recommend checking out my video where I break down the closing costs for a typical property in Ontario around $700,000. So that is an added fee that you're definitely going to want to budget and take into consideration. The second con is the delivery. So when you are actually going to be able to get the keys, that timeline for most projects, and it's very, very common that it gets pushed out further than what the initial date was. I have seen multiple years added to a project. So if you are looking for something and you're really kind of set on that time, you really want to consider that a new construction is likely going to be ready on that initial date that they provide you. And the reason for this is that the developer or the builder truly has full rights to push that guideline. So in your contract, in the documentation, they own full rights and they actually don't need to justify or get your approval to push that date. So it's definitely something to consider that delivery is going to be well past that initial date. The third con that we want to talk about is the assignment. So when buying a pre-construction, you're not actually buying property until it closes. You're buying the documents that show you have the right to purchase that property in that project. For a lot of mostly investors, what their strategy is that they buy in the pre-construction phase, and then close to when it's going to close, they try to reassign or sell their assignment to another buyer at market value. This is something that you want to proceed with caution. Having your legal team take a look at your documents is going to be really imperative, because sometimes the builder can restrict assignment sales, they can add fees, and they can really make that process really, really difficult. So you're going to want to be really crystal clear on the documentation and the rights and responsibilities around assignment. The next con is cost. So for a lot of pre-constructions in Toronto, you could be paying upwards of 30% more than for that exact unit in a resale situation. And the best way to break this down is by square foot. So we know currently in the Toronto market that for a resale space, let's use a condo for example, you're paying around $984 per square foot. in your pre-con, you're paying upwards of $1,200 to $1,300 per square foot. So that is a really big difference just from a purchase price kind of standalone on the square footage. So cost is definitely something that you're going to want to take into consideration. Pre-construction oftentimes will be about 30% more than resale. The last major con that I want to bring to your attention, and it goes back to that point of buying the rights or the documents to prove that you have the rights to purchase a property. The downfall in that is that you don't start earning equity in that home. So you're really kind of at a stagnant standstill until you actually take possession and your name is put on title for that unit or for that property. So depending on how long that project can be, you really have your money tied up in an investment that is not growing year over year like a traditional resale would. Another con to consider is the occupancy rate. So what happens with a pre-construction is that there's kind of three general time periods. So there's, of course, building the project. So that's kind of your build phase. Your second phase is occupancy. And what happens in occupancy is that the builder wants to start to reap the benefits of the completed units. Usually it's for a building, it starts kind of ground level and works its way up. And the idea is that the builders still fully own that building. And in that occupancy period, you are renting from the builder as they finish the other units. This is, again, something that's really important to take into consideration for your budgeting, because you could be paying the builder rent upwards of 8 months, and that is not going towards your mortgage, your principal. That is not paying down what you owe. That is truly just to live in the unit. Now, you may be wondering, okay, then I'll just not live in the unit during occupancy. But once that unit kind of moves into that second phase of occupancy, the expectation is that you are paying that rent. The third phase, just for clarity, is when the building is registered and titles can be issued to the individual owners. And that is really the phase where your mortgage would start to take into place and you would start to pay down your principal, earning equity in the long term. So really be cautious, because that occupancy period is basically paying rent to the builder. All right, I'm done being a negative Nancy. Let's move to the pros. So of course, there are some pros, and I think the biggest pro, especially for first-time home buyers, is that you spread out your down payment over a staggered period of time. So for a lot of these projects, there is a $5,000 or a 5% signing fee, and then you pay the remaining up to 20% all the way kind of through the first initial signing until the closing. So this could be really advantageous for those who maybe are not ready to take on a mortgage, who maybe have a little bit of savings, they're not fully ready for the responsibility, and you want that leg space to really be able to save up that property. Now, in most situations, especially in Toronto, there is a 20% down. And if you're curious about what the requirements are in resale, then definitely check out some of our previous videos where we break down the cost of down payments depending on how much you're actually purchasing. But for Toronto condos, especially in the pre-construction sector, 20% is a general rule of what you will need to pay before getting the keys. Number 2 is that you get to live in a brand spanking new space. It has never been lived in, it has never been touched. You truly are the first person to live in that space. And that could be really advantageous for people who like to have brand new, fresh things. This is definitely one way that you can get into a property that has never been touched by somebody else. Number 3 is a little bit of a unique pro, and it actually could be, pre-construction could be a way that you could get into a neighborhood that maybe you couldn't necessarily if it wasn't a condo. So for example, maybe there's a community in Toronto that you're obsessed with and you love, but everything is north of $1 million and you're really looking for that starter home. Getting into a pre-construction condo may be your opportunity to get into that ideal neighborhood at a way more approachable price. You know, having your neighbors surrounding you of multi-million-dollar homes, that your home is also going to earn equity pretty quickly, and you are making a safer investment in that pre-construction. So if you have a neighborhood that you've always wanted to get into and there's a project that is soon to come, this may be a great opportunity for you to get into that neighborhood. The next pro, and this one may be my favorite pro, is that you get to choose your finishes, your details, the different countertops, your different backsplash options, your flooring, paint colors. You really can truly customize your home before you even move in. So for those design aficionados, this could be an opportunity for you to have your perfect move-in turnkey property ready on delivery. Now, a lot of these features and upgrades come at cash at close. So this would be an additional fee that you would be adding on to that initial ticket price. But this is a really great option for you to truly move into a home that has your taste level and your artistic design touches everywhere. An additional pro is that any new builds homes in Ontario come with something that's called Tarion warranty. And this is a really great rest assurance because when you move in, naturally there's going to be some malfunctions, there's going to be some features that maybe need a little touching up to do, and your Tarion insurance is actually going to cover all of those things for you. And this Tarion warranty actually covers over 7 years on different things. There's kind of like a cascade of coverage. So depending on the specifics, you could have coverage upwards of 7 years. So really big pro because of course you can move in and all of those details, finishes that you decided are going to be held to a warranty standard. So a really big pro because that definitely does not come with resale in the Toronto market. Now that you're feeling a little bit more comfortable with some of our cons and pros for pre-construction, let's talk about who I think this is ideal for and maybe who I don't think this is ideal for. So if you are a buyer looking to purchase something brand new, you have the security maybe of family and friends, you're not urgently looking to move out and get into somewhere new, and you have the budget and allowance to allow for some time before you start earning some equity, I think pre-construction could be a really amazing opportunity. However, on the reverse of that coin, if you are someone who is looking to purchase something and start earning equity right away, you cannot afford to pay rent, and to be paying these deposits slowly down, then it may not be the best option for you, and resale may be something that would better suit you. I hope you're feeling a little bit more confident about some of the most common pros and cons of pre-construction. And maybe you're still sitting there and you're wondering if pre-construction is right for you. I encourage you to book a call directly with the link down below, and we can discuss some of your personal goals. What are some of the objectives that you and your family have? And we can decide together if pre-construction is the right fit for you, or maybe it's not. If you're also just wondering a little bit more about what happens in the pre-construction transaction, I encourage you to download our brand spanking new pre-construction guide, where we're going to show you tips, tricks, and strategies to best navigate the pre-construction transaction. It is quite different than a resale, so this is a document you're not going to want to miss out. I love creating videos like this for you, and I hope it provided value. If you're curious to see more pre-construction content, then please leave a comment down below letting us know that you want more content like this. And if you loved this video, please like, subscribe, click that bell so that you get notified whenever we post, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.